a camera is a camera, a picture is a picture, digital or film, but you want the thing that's going to resonate most with what you want, with what you do and what you want to capture. We talked about Charles Peterson.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Love.
For those who don't know, he basically gave us the grunge look of live music in the early 90s and late 80s. Yeah. And I remember when I was a kid, Nirvana, I was like 12 years old when I discovered Nirvana. Nirvana was still an actual thing and Kurt was still alive. And I got the cassette for Bleach when it got re-released by a major label. And those pictures just like burn into your 12-year-old brain. And like black and white in a sweaty, tiny show in a club with a flash. This will actually go into, I think, my next set of questions. So she'll be about like influence and stuff. So we mentioned Charles Peterson. What influences do you have as a photographer or artist?
So interestingly enough, most of my influences are not of today. I know quite a few people in the film photography community and in the creative communities. But I don't think I know as many people as I should. I actually have like crippling anxiety about meeting other creatives or looking into other people's work because I have like I deal with some pretty severe imposter syndrome, which is like crazy. I'm
familiar.
Yeah, like I've dealt with imposter syndrome for a really long time, and so I'm always very intimidated by others, and so which is like it's saying it out loud, it feels so silly.
No, I understand.
But yeah, like most of my influences are actually one of my principal influences is Ansel Adams, which I think is a very like rote kind of like cliche like answer to that question, but it's not even his work that inspires me. It's his philosophy on photography and what taking a photograph really means, and the community kind of aspect that he had with it. I've been reading this book of letters by Ansel Adams. Cool. Oh man, it's revolutionized the way that I think about taking a photo. I wish I had the book out here so I could read it, but there's this line in taking a photograph, not for the purpose of marking a moment passing in time, but to identify specific things, like the way that light glints off the water as it's rushing down a stream, like to capture something more than a moment. And like, man, I love that. And and I love his philosophy. Like when he had his home with his wife, they had a parlor at the front of their house. And then a little bit past that, there's a hallway. And then down the hall into another room was his dark room. And so he loved hosting gatherings at his home. So his wife would entertain people in the parlor, and then he would be in the lab and he would come out with his apron and his goggles and his gloves. And he would like come out and put his goggles on his head and talk to, the people who they were being entertained in his home. And it was like this very community thing. Like he would go, he would chat, he would spend time with these people, and then he'd go back into his lab and work for a little while, and he'd just dart back and forth. And like, that's my lab. Like when people come, they stay for an hour or two at the time. And I've made it to where I can develop film with the light on. And so like, I'm able to have people here and spend time with them while I'm working.
That's cool.
I love sharing what I do with people. Like I'm not a gatekeeper of information. I'll talk to anyone about it because I love sharing it. He's a huge inspiration. Irving Penn is another one. I really love his body work. He would just put people in really weird positions in like corners of rooms or like, whatnot. And I really love that as well.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I love Irving Penn. I love Dorothea Lange. Her emotive work with people, really capturing the spirit of people was just very, very inspiring. So yeah, a lot of my influences are, no longer, working as much.
Well, they're the classics. They're the foundation. Click subscribe and turn on notifications to see more clips from this interview and to catch future live interviews, and become a patron to see this interview uncut, which is the only place you can see it, and my future live interviews in their entirety after the broadcast. Thank you. See you soon.